let's go right into Saturday's games. We'll start off with the 4:35 afternoon game on Saturday. That's going to be the Rams and the Green Bay Packers. So, Sam, I'll start with you. What are the things you're looking for going into this game? And then if you want to give me a prediction, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start with what I'm looking for, and it's going to be the matchup, honestly, between the Packers offense, which is high-powered, and they've showed that all year, with the potential MVP, maybe you'd say the front runner for MVP, Aaron Rodgers. Also a strong running game, Aaron Jones, against the Rams defense with another Aaron Donald. So, I mean, we'll see that matchup there. I think that's going to be a very good one. I honestly, the Rams defense last week looked tremendous. I mean, sure, the Seahawks offense has struggled and had their fair share of struggled, but the Rams defense looked great. They're going to have to be great with such a difficult quarterback situation right now for the Rams. I mean, McVay won't even say who's the starter or what the updates there. Obviously, it's earlier in the week, so we'll figure that out later on in the week in terms of that. I think the Rams are going to have to rely a ton on running the football, a ton on Cam Akers. But that concerns me a little bit because I feel like they're not going to be able to be really two-dimensional with whoever their starter is. They're going to be hurt, whether it be Jared Goff, obviously coming off of that thumb surgery, or John Wolford, who is coming off that really hard hit last week. So either way, I think the quarterback situation for the Rams is going to be a struggle. They're going to have to run the ball a lot. And I don't think that reliance and kind of one-dimensional play for the Rams is going to help them out, because the Packers offense is just too good, despite the fact that the Rams defense will be a good matchup for them. So overall, that's the long-winded way of saying that I got the Packers in this one pretty easily. I think this is the pick I'm the most confident in. I say that, with it's the playoffs, so who knows what's going to happen, but I'm picking the Packers here to beat the Rams in this one.
Sam, I agree with you, and that is why John Wolford is going to lead the Rams to a blowout victory. No, it's just because we're both so confident in Green Bay. You know how it'll turn out. But no, I agree with the sentiment that Los Angeles has quite a good defense, but in sports in general, right? Offense just tends to win out. Points still get put on the board. Basketball, football, whatever sport, points still end up getting put on the board. Those points get put on the board by your transcendent point scoring talents. And boy, is Aaron Rodgers one of those. If anybody can exploit the holes in such a talented defense, it would be a veteran quarterback who's not only elite in terms of his awareness of the field, but his arm, his talent in general, just his overall play, what he brings to the position. Aaron Rodgers is truly one of the best quarterbacks to have ever played in the NFL. And I think you can't leave that out when talking about how he'll handle a team with not too strong of an offense and quite strong of a defense. This matchup boils down to that aspect of it. It's the Packers offense versus the Rams defense. You're hoping the Packers defense will hold up enough over the Rams offense. You're hoping the Rams offense can just do enough against the Packers defense. The real matchup is between Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Donald. As you said, Jalen Ramsey, these defensive studs on the Rams, and Rodgers, Adams, Jones on Green Bay's offense. So I'm backing Green Bay to win this game just because I got to bet on the talent. And although the Rams are loaded with talent defensively, offense tends to win out in sports in general. And I just can't not support Aaron Rodgers throwing to Devontae Adams or handing it off to Aaron Jones, three players that I love, not just because of whatever, personal agendas, but because I really love what they do out there on the field. I think they're quite good, and they're going to have their chance to show just that against such a talented defensive front.
It's worth noting here, because I'm also about to pick the Packers here. So that's going to be all three of us, a unanimous pick. Might be the only unanimous pick we have for this. But I also think it's worth noting that none of us would take this as giving a negative assessment to what Sean McVay has built with the Rams, because that's a great team. It's an incredible defense, like we keep saying, and it's kind of a unique approach to football in different ways that we don't really have time to talk about here. But credit to them and credit to what he has built. That's why they won the NFC a couple of years ago. But talking about this game, it's interesting, Chris, that you mentioned offense always taking precedent and being the thing that'll win you things. So I don't know if I necessarily always agree with that. I think in certain sports, like baseball and hockey, I think defense actually is what'll do it, pitching and defense in terms of baseball. But football in particular, in some facets, also basketball, offense is the most key. I would say football in particular, specifically the way that the Packers play football. And that's part of why I'm picking them here. I know I did mention earlier how playoff magic has its place as a factor in the playoffs, and it does. But in most cases, it is very difficult to bet against experience, especially in the playoffs. And that's why you got to go with Aaron Rodgers. This is a Hall of Fame quarterback we're talking about. And, he's the kind of quarterback, sometimes he is elusive of that title because with games that he's playing in, I'll think about them and I will almost forget that he is Aaron Rodgers because he just goes out and plays that game every week. I don't think he necessarily always gets the mystique that someone like Tom Brady got specifically when he was in New England. But he is worthy of that. And that's why like I said, it's very difficult to bet against any team Aaron Rodgers would play for, let alone the Packers. So that is a unanimous pick here. We're taking the Packers to beat the Rams at 4:35 on Saturday. You can catch that game. Now let's go to the later game. This might be the most exciting game of the weekend. This 8:15 game on Saturday night, that's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. Very good team. Lamar Jackson coming off his first playoff win. They are going to go to Buffalo, and they are going to play the Bills, who are coming off a win themselves. And you know what, Chris? I'm actually going to start with you here because there's a very interesting factor that the stats would not let you in on that is going to play a part in this game.
For sure, and we were talking about this morning. In sports, we were just talking about betting on experience with Aaron Rodgers. Experience is exactly the angle that I'm going to be playing when I hypothetically back the Bills to cover the spread. Of course, for legal reasons. Meteorology, my friends. Going to be in Buffalo for Saturday night's game, and there is allegedly going to be some snow. Now, I'm not saying that the fact that Lamar Jackson has never played football in the snow before is relevant here. And and I don't mean he's literally never played in snow before, but he's quite young and he's not exactly used to playing football in the snow. We know that when there is snow, teams may turn to the run a little bit more, and that is what Lamar Jackson excels at. However, I'm going to take the other side of this and say that the Bills, their experience in the snow, and the fact that they know, because if we know it, they know it, that the Ravens are going to be running it a little bit more if there is some snow, is actually going to be an advantage for them here. I hate to draw such a crazy. No, I don't. I don't hate to draw such a crazy comparison. I am half Finnish, and it is known that long ago, the Russian forces came through Finland, and despite being vastly outnumbered, the Finnish, because of knowing there's snow-covered territory, were able to emerge victorious. I have no choice but to liken Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to those very soldiers, as the Baltimore Ravens are coming to their home turf where there is, again, allegedly going to be some snow. And I'm here for a Bills win, a Bills spread cover, because the line, it's nothing crazy. It's 2.5. And it has nothing to do with analytics or statistics. It has to do with snow.
Wouldn't it be funny if it doesn't snow? I mean, if there's a chance.
That would.
Let's hope it does, I guess, for the Bills' sake.
That's like not studying for a test because you think school's going to get snowed out.
And then it doesn't. And yeah, what do you got
Lamar
there?
throws for 5 touchdowns, and I'm sitting there with my Bills minus 2.5, like the dog with the fire around him. Like, this is fine. Everything's fine.
Also, Sam, before you go, Chris, do you have? I wish I had my AP European history notes from high school out with me right now, because I could have backed you up on that analysis you just gave right there. But Sam, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to we're going to put weather aside for a second in here, and I'm just going to talk about the matchup. But I mean, Dylan, you kind of stole the words right out of my mouth. This is what I'm the most excited for this game. And I think in general, everyone in the NFL is most excited to watch this matchup here. And I think the Ravens, obviously, we talked about how good their defense was against the Titans last week. But that was based on stopping Derrick Henry, stopping the running game, and forcing Tannehill to throw it. This is going to be a lot different. The Bills don't run the ball too much. They're going to have to worry about stopping Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and this explosive passing attack. And that's a huge matchup to look out for here, the Bills offense versus that Ravens defense and that Ravens secondary. But I'm going to say, I think on the flip side of it, this is where the win is going to come from. And this is where you're going to get to my pick here. It's going to come to more of the weaker sides of each team. So I'm going to talk about the Ravens offense versus the Bills defense on the other standpoint. And I know the Ravens run the ball a lot. If it does snow, they're going to have to run the ball even more, but they're going to have to pass the ball. They're going to have to be two-dimensional. And that's something that Lamar Jackson didn't look great doing last week. I mean, he certainly ran the ball awesome, but he's also got to throw the ball pretty well in this one against a much better Bills team. And on the other side, the Bills defensively did not look great, despite the fact that they did win that game against the Colts. So I think that defense is going to have to step up, play a bigger game. I think the Bills defense is going to step up and is going to play a bigger and better game against the Ravens this week. I really wanted to take the Ravens, but I went back and forth. I think it's going to be really close, but I had the Bills in this one.
Sam, you're absolutely right that the Bills defense needs to step up, and I agree that I think they will. But I'm actually also going to take the Bills here, which means we have two straight unanimous picks. But also, snow or not, this is something I know. I mentioned this with the Browns, but I also feel it with the Buffalo Bills. There is a certain kind of there's a magic that occurs with a team that has not been to the playoffs in so long. And the Bills, this is a season that has felt like a very freeing season for them, with Tom Brady out of the AFC Eastern Division, with them, squeezing past getting Miami to get the AFC East Division title. There's something going on in Buffalo. And I think, not only would the snow work to their advantage, but they're also, Lamar Jackson, the quarterback for the Ravens, often gets talked about as someone who can't win in the playoffs. And like we talked about earlier, that's not fair. Part of the reason that's not fair is because he's very young. And, inexperience in a new environment, it's very tough to bet on that. So I'm also going to take the Bills, partially because I want to see a Browns-Bills AFC Championship game, like I mentioned. But yes, I am going to take Buffalo in this one. And speaking of the Browns, let's get to, and we'll go back to Sam first. Let's get to their game on Sunday, 3:05. That's Browns, that's Chiefs, AFC Division game on Sunday afternoon. Who are you taking, Sam?
So I've got the Chiefs in this one. I mean, that's no surprise, but I mean, certainly the Browns, it'll be nice. They're going to have their head coach back. They're going to have some players back. They're going to be able to practice, which they didn't do last week, and they still came out victorious. So that's extremely impressive. They're going to have all those things, but they're still facing a very high-powered Kansas City offense. And I think I want to back that up a little bit by saying I think it's going to be a close game here because the Chiefs have played a ton of close games this year. So that's something to look out for. I don't think that'll change. It's not going to be a blowout. I think this game will be very close. And I love the story of the Browns this year. That's why it's so hard to pick against them here. I love it. And I want to see that Browns Bills, like you're talking about, AFC Championship. Realistic side of me says, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I like Patrick Mahomes and I like the Chiefs in this one.
Man, how can you bet against Patrick Mahomes? You can't. I'll never bring myself to do it. I walked in a pre-COVID time to a Super Bowl watching event. And with my head, I told my friends when asked that the San Francisco 49ers were going to win the Super Bowl. And yet, when one of my friends loudly made an offer of a $20 bet, does anyone want to back the Chiefs? Because I have the Niners winning. My heart had me accept instantly. I did it. I took the bet. I said $20, Chiefs are going to win. You got it. I told people, you're gonna think I'm a scam artist. I'm not. I told people at that event that the Niners were gonna win the game. And yet I knew the smart money, maybe not smart logically, but emotionally, I don't regret it. So it was with Mahomes because you can't bet against that talent. I know it's been a theme today, just following the talent. I'm always gonna do it. I'm always going to do it. I'm always going to bet on the natural talent if there. And man, does Mahomes have it. So I think if I were hypothetically a betting man, I might pick the Browns to cover the gorge-sized 10-point spread. But I have the Chiefs winning the game, and I have them doing so at the will of possibly the most talented quarterback to grace the National Football League with his presence.
Wow, that was quite the assessment of Patrick Mahomes very early in his career. It's fair though. Perhaps it's also emotions that is making me want to pick the Browns. That's why I'm going to do it. Or maybe it's just because I want to go against the grain here. I talked about my enthusiasm and my hope for some kind of magic for the Browns here, but I also think, like you were mentioning, Chris, a 10-point difference between the Chiefs and the Browns, I think is a very silly assessment of how this game is going to go. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is a very talented quarterback, but so is Baker Mayfield. It might be a battle of the quarterbacks, but perhaps Kansas City would have the edge defensively because Browns have a great defense, but most of the talk is around Myles Garrett, so it can seem a little one-dimensional. So perhaps the rest of the defense has to step up, but I think they might. I think they will. My hope is that they will. So I'm going to go very slightly with the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if I truly believe it, but my heart does. So I'm going to go with that. We don't have a ton of time here. There's one more matchup. It's the 6:40 evening game on Sunday night, and that is Bucs Saints. It's Tom Brady versus Drew Brees, battle of arguably two of the best quarterbacks. Not arguably two of, arguably the two best quarterbacks to ever play in the National Football League. So very quickly, Sam, you first. Who are you taking?
I got the Saints. I can't go against my man, Andrew Galata, WFUV Sports. I talked to him today. I got to go with the Saints. I think the defense will continue to play well. The offense is going to be in more sync than they were last week. I like the Saints in this one.
Man, as somebody who had the 4th overall pick in my fantasy football league this year and so graciously drafted Alvin Kamara, it pains me also as a New York Giants fan to tell you guys now that Tom Brady is going to win this football game. Drew Brees, I know I'm a relatively young person making brash statements and his arm is cooked. He's cooked. It's done. It's over. Analyst time. He's going to Tony Romo it. He's done. The shoulder, the arm. It was a great run. He needs to start catching his breath. Runs over. I think Brady wins. I don't know if they win after this game. I don't know if they make it to the Super Bowl. I don't think the Bucs will make it to the Super Bowl. I can't bet against Rodgers making it to the Super Bowl. But if we're talking about the Brady Brees Bowl, despite Michael Thomas, despite Alvin Kamara, give me Brady to win the game. In a close one. It's going to be a close one because that's just how these stories go. These storied quarterbacks deserve nothing less but an all-time game, just entertainment-wise. In this face-off, this matchup here, really, it's just a marquee matchup. I think the experienced, proven winner does just that.
Chris, relatively young people making brash statements is what this sports department was built on. Okay, don't ever stop making. But I love it. I'm actually also going to take Tom Brady in this game. I don't think Drew Brees is as cooked as you're making him out to be. But I also just think it's very difficult to bet against him in the playoffs too. As much as I love Drew Brees, our producer Alex Wolves actually said this very well during the break. So I want to make sure I get this right. I believe he said the Bucs had the highest ceiling and the lowest floor this season. There were very high expectations for them, also with surprisingly low expectations in some senses. But perhaps it's me wanting to see a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers NFC Championship game, which would be one for the ages. My goodness. But I also just think the Bucs at this moment might be the better team. The Saints made their game against the Bears look easy, but that's just because they're a much better team than the Bears. But the Bucs are a very good team, so I think Tampa Bay has the edge here.